Babcock flashbacks. Don't call them vampires again. And also, whatever you do, don't go to sleep. 'Cause nightmares. The Passage, Season 1, Episode 3, Reaction and Review. Hey y'all, it's your Twisted Girl next door here, and today I am doing a reaction and review for The Passage, Season 1, Episode 3. Okay, so if you're new here, this is how I do it. I do my overall reaction, the happenings, as in what happened this episode, ship talk, because I love talking about my relationships. Oh yeah. My favorite line of the episode, predictions, and then for this particular show, I do book talk because The Passage, as many of you may know or may not know, it's okay, is based off of the very popular trilogy novel series by the same name. Okay, so overall, this was way better than the second episode. The second episode, as I said in my reaction and review to that one, was a little bit slower. It was kind of the calm before the storm because Amy and Brad were still on the run. And now, in this episode, they are in the facility, and there is a lot going on. And I think the show did a very good job of balancing out. We got some flashbacks, but things still happened in the present. So it didn't feel like a standalone episode, which would have been not so good considering that the second episode was kind of felt like nothing much happened until the end. So this episode, they definitely had a lot of stuff going on. There were so many revelations, and I'm just really enjoying the action and the character arcs in this show. And oh my God, Lacey is alive! Yay! Okay, so Amy basically gets taken into the facility, Project Noah, along with Brad, and she's injected with the serum. So that actually did happen. She makes a connection with Anthony Carter. They become some sort of pen pals because they're next in the same room, and somehow you can like slide letters right under the door. And Amy definitely has some very appropriate bad feelings when it comes to sensing that there's something not right when it comes to Project Noah. We also learn that the bird flu that they're trying to find a cure for is about 60 days away from reaching the United States. So that means they're on a race against time to basically stop the end of the world as we know it. I think once again, this is just showing how much of a such a cool character that Amy is, and she's such a strong little girl, and she's so smart, but not in that obnoxious way. If you have seen some of my previous videos, you know I'm not the biggest fan sometimes of kids in shows because either they come off as really obnoxious and naive to the point where they just keep making stupid mistakes, or they end up being like not really like kids, like you kind of feel like they're like basically actors, so they don't come off as very natural. And one of the great things about the actress that plays Amy is that she has a certain natural way about her. So throughout this episode, even though she was like counting the steps to escape and like figuring out the code, it was very natural and also kind of sweet because in a very badass way, because she was like, we're gonna get out of here, and that was kind of keeping her occupied as Brad was just like such a proud father of his little girl in a way, seeing that she was staying strong and still having a way of thinking about getting out of there. And I really did like that her and Anthony got to connect because I think Anthony is going to be a very crucial character to the show for whatever plot developments that happen. And he has clearly such a good heart. And so it was nice that him and Amy got to connect very quickly. And it seemed like they connected very quickly. And I didn't think that was like contrived or anything. I don't know. I feel like Amy is kind of maybe empathic and that she kind of has a way of sensing things about people, maybe even before she was injected with the serum. But she seems to have an instant connection with Anthony. We see her sort of kind of trust Nicole, Dr. Nicole. And so that was pretty cool. And I thought, one of the things we're just seeing that this is a strong character, and whatever happens to her, she's definitely the key. And oh my God, I just love her and Brad's relationship. Like, he was just like, don't panic. They give this like really tight hug. And I just love their dynamic. And it's really the heart of the show. And once again, that was so exemplified in Amy staying strong because she had Brad in there with her. Brad pretty much finding out the revelations when it comes to Project Noah. He finds out that there are vampires, but don't call them vampires. They're going to call them virals in this series. I thought this was really good. First of all, I love that once again we're getting a glimpse of why Brad is such a cool character. He was a soldier, he has skills, he has a skill set, and he definitely, I learned something new when he went out of the room and he uses the flashlight to like blind the camera. I was like, noted for later if I ever have to escape a facility. And I like, he was making connections with everything that he has done. It's come kind of full circle for him because it was to me a pivotal moment that he goes into the facility that Lawrence Gray, who's so creepy, was telling him about, and he finds out that the 12 inmates on death row that he had brought to the facility were all like some sort of different beings than what he even thought they might be going through. And so I like that they got to give him that moment where it was like, man, all this time I've been doing really wrong. I was on the wrong side of history here. And, that little talk that he has with Anthony, which was, everything kind of coming full circle very quickly, which I was happy for because Anthony's like, yeah, you apologize, so that makes it all better. I'm in here now. And I thought that was a good moment for Brad because Brad's hands are not clean, right? Even though he saved Amy and he had a kind of coming to Jesus moment, he's definitely someone who played a major part in getting these people to the facility. It is someone on his hands. And then Fanning came into his dream at the end. And I think this actually connects to the happenings with Amy as well. Fanning sensed Amy when you could tell that he sensed Amy when the serum got put into her. And I think that's going to play a key role. And I don't know what Fanning necessarily wants with Amy. I don't know if it's for good, or to bring her to his side, or maybe he sees that she's going to be a danger to what he's trying to build. And I thought that was a pivotal moment when Fanning went into Brad's dream and was like, don't stand in my way. We got Shauna's backstory, which I thought was necessary. It was interesting. She's had a very tragic life in a way. We found out that she had aspirations to become an FX makeup artist, which I thought was really cool. That's such a cool job. It's so cool. I love FX makeup, especially in horror. And it was a very tragic story. We got the allusions to her being assaulted by her stepdad, her mother. Oh my gosh, her friggin' mom. Ugh, hate that. Man, I was so angry for her. So I kind of understood when she stabbed the mother, because it was like, you knew your daughter was going through this from 8 to 16. And unfortunately, Shauna's story isn't something that's like totally fictional, right? Like, this is things we've heard, this stuff in the news. Things like this happen to women and things of that nature. So it was such a gripping moment. And I think, I don't know, I feel like maybe they wanted us to kind of have some sort of empathy for Shauna in that moment, and I think it worked for sure. Shauna definitely wanted Clark to have empathy for her, and it was no love lost between her and Clark, because Clark was like, yeah, kill her, because I think Clark sensed, and I'll get to this when I talk about ships, he sensed that she was probably coming for him in some regard for revenge. And so she used her power to telepathically tell him her story, to make him feel sorry for her. And so it was an important story to tell, I think. And I think they did a good job in not making it so it was the sole focus of the episode, which I think I would have been very bored if it was the sole focus of the episode, but intertwining it with everything that was happening in the facility. Lila is doing some digging. She's grown on me somewhat. I mean, it's one of those things. I'm glad that she's not a character that's just solely there for Brad's man pain in terms of like his ex-wife who he can't be with or something like that. And she's actually a very useful character. So she was doing some digging. She got in contact with the reporter who reported that Brad was dead. Fake news, hello. That was like my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of the episode was that Lacey was alive. Because in my last video, I was like, I really hope she's not dead for a variety of reasons, but mainly because I really liked her introduction. And so I was happy that she's still alive. And it seems like they're kind of in hiding at the moment, which is really cool. I like the fact that, we had a lot going on in Project Noah, but it also showed with Lila and Lacey that there's still things happening outside. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see, considering that they're outside of Project Noah and this bird flu is coming, what's going to happen to them. Shauna and Clark. I don't really think this is a ship. At first, I think in the pilot episode, maybe it was just for the pilot episode, they were trying to make us think that there was something sort of sexual going on between them and some type of attraction. I think in this episode, we saw that they sort of had a connection in the sense of they were talking about the weather, and maybe there was an instant kind of charming flirtation ship going on there for a brief moment. But also we saw that Clark is willing to sacrifice her at any moment. Like, and even in that flashback, it was like, yeah, it's not gonna hurt. Like, he had that moment with her, but he was like, yeah, you're still gonna go in here and we're still gonna test you for whatever they're doing to you. And then later on in the episode, well, actually in the very beginning of the episode, when they're thinking about basically gassing and killing her, he's thinking about the fact of her infiltrating his dreams, and he's like, yeah, no, kill her. Because he's probably thinking of survival. He's thinking this girl wants to kill him. She probably wants to kill him and everybody else. So I'm not sure what they're doing necessarily with them. If it's going to be some weird, like, manipulative, dark attraction that they have going on with each other, or if it's nothing at all romantic, and maybe it's just two people having two different things and standing in each other's way for it. I don't know. I'm considering it a ship just because they did have them make out and everything in the very beginning of the season. So I don't know what they're doing with that necessarily. Clark and Nicole. I'm a little mad at Clark for not confiding in Nicole about what was going on with Babcock. And, he confided in Brad, which kind of makes sense because they were friends for a very long time. Even though he sort of kind of confided in him, he wasn't like totally outright with him, but he did allude that something's going on in his mind and stuff with Shauna basically manipulating his brain and whatnot. But, in that moment, he seems to I'm talking about Clark here, he seems to really believe in Nicole. Like, they had that moment in in their bedroom. I don't even know, do they live together? They had that moment in the bedroom where he's like, I believe in you. And it was actually very intense. I think he actually cares for her, but I think this relationship is doomed. I think Clark is doomed, to be honest with you. I don't see him making it past this season, to be honest. I don't see how he would, to be honest with you, with this kind of arc that he's being given. I think he's going to have to make a decision of which side he's on of history, of mankind. But, it's clear he has, an intense care for Nicole, and he has some weird draw to Shauna. Also, I'm just kind of wondering when Nicole's going to have a little bit more to do, because, she didn't have much to do. She's kind of there giving little quips here and there, but she's not playing the pivotal role of someone who's supposed to be in charge of the facility. I'm not taking any meds. I want to feel it. Feel the anger for the person who shot me. Badass Lacey. I also think that Fanning wants Amy dead. I think he wants Amy dead because I think he senses that Amy's going to be a problem for whatever new world order he's trying to put in place. Okay, so in terms of book talk, I don't usually go too in depth or whatever like that. I just like to kind of compare from what I'm learning about the book versus what's happening on the show. And so one of the main things is that Lacey is not dead, right? So Lacey isn't dead, which is awesome. And that actually plays into the book because in the book series, Lacey isn't dead. She lives. She's also a nun, but she lives, and she lives for like hundreds of years or whatnot, and she meets Amy later on. So I don't know, maybe they're playing into that, but I do like the fact that they did not kill Lacey. Also, they kind of kept with the fact that Babcock had a, troubled past, that, definitely had mommy issues. I believe the Babcock in the book series had mommy issues as well. They kept with that for this in a very different kind of angle on it, but definitely having family problems. And so they kept with that from the book. And people have pointed this out before, that in the book, Babcock is a man. In the series, she's a woman. And I'm fine with that. I know some people have some issues with that. I have no problem with it. And I like the fact that they gave her a little bit more of a backstory to maybe, get our empathy for her, our sympathy or whatever for her a little bit more. But they definitely kept with the fact of Shauna, or Babcock, I should say, having a very troubled past. Okay, so what did you think of this episode of The Passage? Let me know. Comment down below with your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen to Clark? I think he's a tragic figure. I don't think he's long for the world of The Passage, to be honest with you. So let me know. Comment down below. And also, be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror and dark fantasy. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.